for us. Okay, so here we are, Fermentation Fun with Farmer Brooke. Brooke is going to take us on a virtual tour of her farm and then lead us through a lacto-fermentation demonstration so that y'all can learn how to pickle produce using lacto-fermentation, and also so that you can learn, if you're an educator, you can learn how to teach this skill to your students. And the star of today's show is Brooke Lewis-Slamkova. My bad. Also here helping pull this off is Shanice Chesney, who is basically our office manager at Georgia Organics, and she is doing some Zoom support today. And then Kimberly Deladonna, our farm to school director, is out at the farm with Brooke doing camera and audio support. And then my name is Kimberly Kugler. I'm the farm to school coordinator at Georgia Organics. And so teamwork makes the dream work. Thank you to my lovely team members for making this happen. We also have thanks to give to the USDA because Georgia Organics, the farm to school team, received this year a farm to school implementation grant, and it is thanks to those funds that we are able to provide this workshop today. All right, and then a quick review of Georgia Organics. So Georgia Organics is the oldest statewide nonprofit providing direct support to small and organic farmers. And at Georgia Organics, we see farm to school and farm to early care and education as a strategy to connect Georgia families with organic food from Georgia farms to ultimately achieve our desired outcome, which is farmer prosperity. So some of our goals are to increase the number of organic farms in Georgia, to increase the number of kids participating in farm to school programs, and to increase the number of Georgians eating local and organic food. We are a member-supported organization, and anybody can become a member anytime at this link, membership.georgiaorganics.org. We have different levels of membership and different types of membership that come with different perks. So I encourage you to check that out sometime if you're interested in supporting our work. Okay, so a little refresher on what farm to school is, what that means. So farm to school is interactive, fun nutrition and agriculture education that teaches students the life skills of growing food and eating fresh food while also supporting local farmers and making community connections. So farm to school is using locally grown foods to both feed students, but also to teach students. And one of the ways that the Georgia Organics Farm to School team supports farm to school work in Georgia is through our annual October Farm to School Month campaign. So Farm to School Month is celebrated nationally every year in the month of October. Happy Farm to School Month, y'all. And every year we coordinate a statewide campaign specific to Georgia to get kids across our state growing and cooking and eating and learning all about a particular fruit or vegetable. So as y'all are well aware, we are all about okra this year. We are Livin La Vida Okra, and we are thrilled to be doing so. Hopefully everybody here has already signed up to participate. If you haven't yet signed up, that's okay, you still can. And you can sign up at that link that you see at the bottom of my screen. It's bit.ly/livinlavitaokra. It's very easy to sign up, quick sign up form. And once you do, you get free access to an online resource toolkit that we've compiled that has standards-based lessons from early care all the way through 12th grade. And actually Brooke, who is presenting today, wrote the middle and high school level lessons for us. And then there's also recipes and fact sheets and activities too in that online resource toolkit. So make sure you sign up. to get access to that. And then also signing up makes you eligible to win weekly prizes during our social media contest this month. So do sign up if you haven't yet. And I'm not sure why I went backwards. Okay, so now it's my pleasure to turn this over to Brooke and have Brooke say hi and introduce herself really quickly. So hopefully you can hear me, Brooke, and if you'd like to come off mute and say hello, I will stop sharing my screen, and then after you introduce yourself, Brooke, I will launch those 3 polls that we want folks to answer. Oh. Well, we're having a little hiccup. I think we lost Brooke for a second, but she's reconnecting. Hey, Brooke, can you hear me? Okay, well, while she gets reconnected, I'll just go ahead and tell you that Brooke is a family and consumer science teacher at Barrow County Schools and is also a farmer and a chef. She's a very busy lady. So we thank you very much, Brooke, for taking the time to put this together for us today and to show us your farm. Hopefully you can hear me now. I'm going to go ahead and launch those 3 polls that we would like for y'all to answer. So the first one, let's see. Shanice, do you have the ability to launch the polls? Because I apparently do not.
Yes, I sure can.
Thank you.
I just launched the first one.
Do y'all see polls on your page, on your screen yet?
Yes, we're getting some questions in. We've got about 66% of people in, so still coming in.
Great, okay. And this one is asking about what grade levels y'all teach, correct?
Yes. Yeah. Okay, and it looks like some of the polls are starting to come in, so I'll end this one and we should see the results soon.
Okay. So I can't see the results. Would someone like to tell me what the results are, please? Shanice or anybody?
I'll go ahead. So we've got about 29% are pre-K. We've got 64% that are in K through 2nd grade. About half and half between 3rd and 5th grade and 6th and 8th grade. And then a little bit of 29 with 9th through 12.
Okay. Wow, we've got a great mix here. Were you able to hear that, Brooke? Great. I think I see her nodding her head. Okay, so thanks for letting us know what grade levels y'all teach. That's a good thing to know, to see who is in the room. And then we're going to launch another poll. And I think this one is about...
This is the lacto-fermentation knowledge skills.
Great.
Okay, about to start launching it now.
Should be a new poll.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yes, we are seeing now how knowledgeable people already feel about lacto-fermentation, what their level of knowledge and skill is. A little pre-assessment.
Okay, and I'll give it just a few more seconds and then I'll share the results.
I think she's sharing the results.
Okay, great. So here are the results. Hopefully you should see it on your screen. We've got about 58% that they strongly disagree. So a lot of people are here to learn about lacto-fermentation knowledge and get some stronger skills. 26% say disagree, and 16% are a little neutral. So this should be, hopefully in the post-assessment, we can get it on the other side.
Awesome. So everybody here, Brooke, is very anxious to learn about lacto-fermentation. Okay, bear with us. There's one more poll.
Just one more poll.
We'd love to know about how many years y'all have, how many years of experience y'all have with school gardens.
Okay, and I'm launching it now. Okay, and I'll give it a few more seconds and then I'll end this one too.
I just realized I missed a really great opportunity to be playing Ricky Martin's Livin, La Vida Loca song. Next time.
Okay, great. And I'll go ahead and end this one. And hopefully you should see the results on your screen. So about 22% have never worked in the school garden. 22 have 0 to 1 year's experience. About a third, it's about 2 to 3 years of experience. And then 22% with more than 4 years of experience.
Cool. All right. So we've got diversity of experience in this room and knowledge and grade levels being taught. So this is great. Okay, Brooke. Hopefully you're still there and can hear me and can come off mute.
All right. Can you hear me?
We can. We cannot
Okay.
more, but we can hear you.
You can't see me anymore.
No. Oh, there you are. Okay, we can see you now. Great.
You're good to go. So we are currently standing in our high tunnel. Our high tunnel sits on our 2 acres of farmed land that we currently use. We are considered a micro farm and we are completely off grid. So we harvest rainwater. We also have a well. We run on a generator, but we're still considered 0 carbon footprint because we utilize all of our own compost. We're not bringing anything in and we don't use any pesticides or herbicides that are not OMRI approved. So this is kind of the end of summer. So over here, I don't know if you can see, is our eggplant. Can you see me?
You really quickly?
Sure.
So what would be great is if the way we could view you, you are lopsided. So if we could turn the camera.
Can you turn the camera vertical? If I hold it. Okay. The filmographer is, how's that? Better?
Yay, much better. Now, yeah, you're right side up. Thank you.
It was funny when you asked me about okra, you had said, are you going to have okra at your farm? And I was like, well, we'll have something. And literally this is the very end. It's about 9 or 10 feet tall. And we're actually drying this okra out to use for seeds for next year. So the okra that I have was actually donated by Dirt Road Farms, which is about 2.5 miles away from here. And so I'm super excited to share that with you. We also have our peppers over on this side. We have some bell peppers, some habanada peppers, some cayenne peppers. Those are the habanadas right there. The shishito are there. Kimberly Deladonna said she didn't know they turned red. I said, you leave them on the vine, they'll turn red. She says she never leaves hers that long. And so we're going to go ahead and walk up to the front and see the outdoor area. You can see some more of our peppers here. These are just about done. And we're making way. Here's the listata eggplant, which are beautiful. Kids love purple vegetables. And then these are our golden beets. Beets are one of our #1 crops and also probably my favorite vegetable. Oh yeah, we need to get the tripod. Sorry, we're losing things as we go. I do not do this alone. I do work 40 hours a week. And so my husband is in charge of the farm most of the time. I joke that I'm the brain and he's the muscle. And he's definitely the muscle, but he's also most of the brain too. When we bought this piece of property, people would not have looked at it and said, this is a farm. It's completely covered with kudzu. It's covered, when we bought it, it was covered all the way to the road, and we didn't even know what a lot of the trees were that were on here. And so it's been a constant battle, even with our goats, to keep it cut back. So we're in the process of trying to figure out how to do that. If anybody has any suggestions, please let me know. And then we have our outdoor area here. So that what the high tunnel does is it creates a 3-season growing zone. We can actually grow food 100% of the year, every single day in the high tunnel. Whereas up here, we will lose access in about January. So you can see the very end of our squash here and some of our gourds. We have our brassicas here. So we have some collards. We have some Romanesco. These typically haven't been great for us, but we're trying it outdoors, not in the high tunnel, and seeing if we can get some growth. What is always really good for us is this. This is Mizuno. So I don't know if you've ever had Mizuno before, but Mizuno is a lettuce, and it's really heat tolerant, which most lettuces are not. It has a super mild flavor, and it's really pretty. And you can cut and come again. And I love a cut and come again because that's where you're getting the most, especially in a school garden, for your time and your money. These are not cut and come again. These are called bok choy or baby bok choy. And they're not because they bloom so quickly. So you see this one right here is about to bloom. And I'll actually pull it up so you can see the whole thing. But they're really, really beautiful. These grow super well and they're super fast growers. So in a school garden, these would be excellent. And we got these seeds from Baker's Creek. It also comes in a red variety, which is slightly larger. And they're just beautiful. Talk about eating your vegetables. I love purple vegetables. And then these we tried for the first time. As you can see, they were actually super prolific. Anybody guess what these are? Maybe in the chat. Anyone want to unmute and guess what they are? So these are actually huckleberries. And so huckleberries are actually very, very sour. And they're really hard. Even the ripe ones are super firm. Like you can see they're more like a cranberry and super tart, and they have to be cooked. You're not really supposed to consume them raw. So that has made us think maybe that's not what we want to grow here. You don't know until you try. So what we're going to do now is we're going to move up under the barn because it is starting to rain just a little bit. This is a family farm, so we do have a fire pit. It's not uncommon for us to invite people over and have parties out here. Through the kudzu, you may be able to see our outhouse, which is the only working bathroom, permanent working bathroom on the farm right now. And when I say working bathroom, it's a bucket with mulch in it. But from here, you can kind of see the layout of the land. And then my husband and son are actually walking back there too. And then this barn will eventually become our cold storage and our wash station. But we have to get power out here first. And so we're trying to figure out what's the most ecological way to get power, if it's solar or if it's to use a generator. We're not really sure. So if you guys have any questions, feel free to put them in the chat and I would love to answer them for you. It'll take a second for, isn't that cool though? Okay, so she's going to turn the camera off for just a second while we replace it onto the tripod.
Okay, thank you. That's some beautiful pak choy. Are you going to be pickling that as well, Brooke?
We can try it for sure. Pickling the pak choy.
Okay, so Brooke, are you still with us? We may have lost Brooke for a second. So what I should have done was come up with funny okra jokes for y'all while during these little lulls in our presentation. I'll ask a question. Maybe y'all can put in the chat. Those of you who love okra in the audience, what is your favorite way to eat okra? We'll just play with it. We'll just play until they come back. Pickled gumbo, okra and tomatoes, fried or Indian style. Pickled, fried, pickled in fresh salads. Wow. Dehydrated. Okra and corn with tomatoes. Yes. In vegetable soup. Love it. Okay. I also love okra pickled. Oh, sauteed with coconut oil and sea salt. I love okra pickled and also grilled.
Are we?
Okay. Great. Good to see you back. Thank you so much.
All right.
How everybody loves to eat okra while you were gone.
Well, that's awesome because I do love okra, for sure. So a couple of things, especially about you guys who have not really used farm to school in your classrooms yet. And I'm going to be showing you kind of some more advanced stuff, but I don't want you to think my kids can't do this because they 100% can do all of these things. I mean, maybe you handle the knives, but I do want to go over some quick things with you. Hand washing. So even if you're out in the garden, we all have hand sanitizer now. And I do teach the Fight Back. It's fightbac.org, their hand washing techniques. And so it's the same as in the hospital. So you want to wash your hands for 20 seconds. You want to do the palms together. Then you want to do the backs. Then you want to do the fingers in between the fingers and the thumb. And then you want to take your fingernails and you want to rub them into your palms. Okay. So even if you're using hand sanitizer, it's a good way to practice hand washing without, especially if you have littles, because let's be honest, we're not going to go out in the garden and play in the garden and then not taste stuff and not do stuff out in the garden. So this is a super quick and easy way. And like I said, it follows all. If you were hand washing, of course, you'd wet your hands, you'd put your soap on, and you do the exact same 20 seconds. If you sing happy birthday, that's approximately the length or the ABCs. And so that's a good way if you're doing pre-K, which I saw several of our teachers are doing pre-K, that you can practice your alphabet, you can practice your letter sequencing, all while you're also hand washing. Okay. So the next thing people say is, are you going to give kids knives? And anybody who knows me knows that I will. Sorry, my earbud came out. And I will give them a knife in a heartbeat. I teach knife skills and knife safety to 31 high schoolers at a time, multiple days in a row. And so what I say is the best thing you can do is to actually learn the knife skills that you would use in the industry. If you start them in second, third grade, now I'm not recommending you use a super sharp knife, but I am recommending that you use a big knife. They have plastic ones that I know that Georgia Organics has used in their demos, and I'm sure that Kimberly could share with you that. You also need to make sure that you have, it's really just 4 knife hand positions. The first one is the pinch grip. You literally put your thumb on one side and your first finger on the other, and then the knife stays on the cutting board. When you do that, you are automatically teaching really good skills. And I know Kimberly Deladonna has gone through chef training. Is this what they teach you in chef school? Pinch grip, like you're pinching a cheek. Exactly. So the dominant hand always does that. This other hand can only do 3 other things. Okay. So you have to get them in the mindset, and you will hear me yell this across my room, but you do bear claw, and you literally tuck your fingernails under, and just your knuckle rubs the edge of the knife. Okay. This way your knife is never going to get above your finger because you can always feel it leaning against one of your knuckles. The other hand is a flat hand. This is going to be used more for chopping herbs and some other flat things. And then the other one is the rainbow. And that is if you're trying to like cut open a potato. You want it to be stable and you want it to be secure, but you do not want your fingers under the blade. So I always tell that. The other trick, and I don't know why this is a chef's trick, because everyone needs to know this, is if you wet a paper towel and you place it under your cutting board, you increase the surface area for the cutting board to your countertop, and it will actually make it slide less. And so tell kids that that's the magic trick. Let them know, let them go home and teach their family the magic trick. It's just super fun and super easy. All right. So we've covered hand washing. We've covered knife safety. And now let's talk a little bit about fermentation. Fermentation, I know, often scares people, but really you only need a few things. You need jars. They don't even have to be canning jars with fermentation. And we're doing lactobacillic fermentation today. So you can reuse mason jars, you can reuse pasta jars. You just want to make sure that you've run them through a sanitizing treatment in your dishwasher, or you wash them and then boiled them in the lids and let them air dry. Okay. Because you don't want to introduce any other bacteria into here. You need water, not chlorinated water. So spring water is best. If you have well water, that's fine. And then you need salt. And I recommend like Himalayan salt. You don't want to use iodized salt because then again, we're adding an additional chemical into the process. So I'm going to teach you the very, very simplest, like if you're teaching this to kindergartners, if you want to go down the rabbit hole of fermentation, these are the 2 books I highly, highly recommend. The Nourished Kitchen is another one. And then the website Cultures for Health. I will tell you though, it's like a Pandora's box, okay? Because you can learn lactobacillic fermentation and be happy for the rest of your life, or you can go down all the other different cultures that there are. And I have been down many, many a culture. Okay.
Brooke, can you tell us the names of those books that you were holding up? Oh no. We lost Brooke again.
I think I got the name of one of them. I'm looking up to get the link and making sure it was the right one.
Thank you once again, everybody, for your unending patience today. Turns out it's hard to do an event from a farm virtually. Thank you, Shanice and Allison Johnson. Yes, the art of fermentation and wild fermentation. Cool. Oh, Brooke is coming back to us.
All right, excellent. So the book titles are The Art of Fermentation by Sandor Katz and Wild Fermentation. This is going to be, the wild fermentation is going to be a little more free spirited. The art of fermentation is really going to be more scientific. So kind of depending on where your interest lies, those are your 2 options. Okay. Kimberly, you can hear me okay, right?
Yes, we can hear you great, but you are sideways again. Could we?
We're sideways again, Kimberly. I don't know. She said we're sideways.
The way we're presenting?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you can see the table.
She's trying to fix it. So I'm going to go ahead and start explaining how this works using very little words, okay? Because fermentation has a lot of sciencey stuff to it. One of the main things that we're doing is we're actually using lactobacillus, and lactobacillus is a bacteria that's found basically on everything. It's one of the most common bacteria in the world. There are very few people who have any issues with lactobacillus, so it's very safe food-wise and food safety-wise. And so what we're doing is we're going to rinse our vegetables, but we're going to not wash them with soap or with vinegar or anything like that. We're going to use the lactobacillus that's actually on our vegetables. We're going to stuff our jars full, and then we're going to figure out the amount of salt that goes in. And so the two active agents here are water and salt. And what the water does is the water makes the jar anaerobic. So it basically removes all the oxygen in the jar. And most bacteria and yeast need oxygen to thrive. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to add salt. And we're going to add 2.5% of salt per volume. So the reason that that's important is lactobacillus is one of the few bacteria that can actually thrive in a salted environment. It actually can thrive anywhere from 2% up to about 3.2%. I go with the 2.5% because it's just super easy. It's right in the middle. It's going to give you the most success. Okay. Also in my research, there have been 0 cases of foodborne illness from a fermented vegetable. So if that makes you feel good, like you're not going to mess it up. And if it messes up beyond repair, you will know it. Okay. So, one of the things I love about this is that it teaches kids to use a scale that's actually functional and helpful. Because a lot of times we teach them to use a scale in science class, but then they go, well, when am I going to use this any other time? This teaches them how to use a basic kitchen scale to do really interesting math that's going to actually ferment something. So what we're going to do now is we're going to turn on our scale, and we've got to figure out how much our jar, or we have to tare it so that our jar does not included in the weight. So if you don't know this feature, almost all scales come with this feature. It's T-A-R-E, tare. And what it does is it will actually make it so that the jar counts as 0. And so that's what we want to do. We want to tare it when it goes down to 0. And you can choose to do this in grams, ounces, pounds. You could do vat fermentation if you wanted to in a 5-gallon bucket. But I'm going to teach us on the small scale. So what we've done is we've tared our jar. So now it counts as 0. I'm just going to quickly cut some of our vegetables and put them in. I prefer, and those of you who don't like slimy okra, if you keep the ends attached, you're more likely not to get the slime factor. This is the same if you pickle it with vinegar too. And so I don't like that we use the same term for lacto-fermentation. This is a true pickle, but it's not a vinegar pickle. It's still going to produce acetic acid. It's still going to produce alcohol as a byproduct and CO2. Again, if you're going into the science field, this is really super, super helpful. Okay. I like to get as many vegetables in the jar as possible. If not, you're just making a bunch of salt water, which isn't bad, but you can't exactly eat the salt water. So it's a lot more fun to do it this way. If you didn't know, okra does come in several different colors, different sizes. It's in the mallow family, which is the same as cotton and marshmallow. So that's kind of interesting. It has a beautiful bloom, absolutely gorgeous. So the kids love to go out and see it. You see, I really am trying to wedge it in here because you also don't want it to float. Now, there are some cool things if you get into fermentation that you may want to invest in. I'm going to show you those cool things, but I'm also going to show you the cheater way around it that won't cost you very much money and you probably already have in your kitchen. All right, so once I have all my okra in there, I'm going to then add, and so that's 8.4 fluid ounces, okay? And I'm just writing that down just for us to remember. And then I'm going to go ahead and add my water. Now this is tiered, right? So this is going to give me my total volume. So if you're talking about volume, you're talking about mass, this is a great way to do it. I try not to go up past the line because we still have to add our salt in there. So now we're up to 19.5. This is where our math comes in. We have to come in with 2.5%. So if we, and I always, you know, you have to go back into your math brain and you have to move your decimal point. So if we go in and we have 19.5, we're going to divide it, or I'm sorry, multiply it by 0.025. And you can show them on the board depending on what your level is. And we're going to get that we need 0.48 ounces. It's actually 0.487. So we're going to round up to 0.49. So instead of adding that to it and figuring out how much it would be, I know that I have to do that. So I'm going to tear my thing again. So there's my numbers. And then I'm going to go up to 0.48 fluid ounces of salt. Now this is not an exact, well, I say it's not an exact science. Okay. There we go. I hit 5, so I know that I'm at 0.48. I'm going to put a lid on it, and I'm going to shake it up. If the water's a little warm, it helps the salt dissolve. Okay. All right. So we can see there's salt in there. We do want all the vegetables to be submerged. So there's a couple of ways you can do that. I told you I'm going to show you the cool things. These cool things are called pickle pebbles. They're also called fermentation weights. They're just glass and you can sit them right on the top. Okay. If you don't have that, you can just as easily take a Ziploc bag, put some water in it, seal it, and put it on the top, and then loosely put the lid on top. So you see how the water in the bag would act just like the fermentation weight is acting right now. And then you put your lid on it loosely. Okay, and I hate to say it's that simple, but it's that simple. Okay, and so you're gonna leave it on the counter. This is a great thing to do like on Monday or Tuesday of the week, because you're gonna leave it on the counter and you're gonna tell them that the magic is gonna happen, and you'll see the magic happen when you see bubbles start to come up. Okay, and literally the bubbles will start to come up after about 24 to 48 hours. Once you see the bubbles kind of subside, make sure you're burping it every day. You're gonna just turn the cap just to release the pressure. They love that because they are burping it and it makes noise. And then after about a few days, you can then try it and see if they like it. So I'll let you smell it just so you can be my. Okay, so they're not going to smell like vinegar pickles, but they are going to smell like a kosher dill pickle or a kosher. So these are pickled cucumbers. All other vegetables work though. Okay, anything that's firm. I mean, we could even do this and maybe cut off the leaves and just use the firm part of the pak choi. Peppers work. You can add herbs in here. So if you have an herb garden and garlic, you can put those in your fermentation. You just have to include that in your weights. Okay. So the reason I really like this is you can make it as easy or as complicated as you want. You can give your kids all the things and have them do the research and figure out what's going to happen. You could even do test kits to figure out how much acetic acid and alcohol are in them. They're going to see the CO2, which is going to be super exciting. And then they're going to have something really fun and fresh to taste after. So what questions do you have for me about this? Now, all of this is on the high school STEAM Okra plans, which I don't actually know where those are on the website. But this whole unit is on there, and you can use, of course, okra, but any other vegetable you can find. I know people who do blueberries, who do all their herbs, who do, of course, cucumbers sliced and whole, just all different kinds of things. And really, your imagination is the only thing that limits you here. You can do cauliflower. You can do a whole giardinaria. I don't ever know how to say it right, but where you can use the cauliflower. Now, broccoli gets a little slimy, but the cauliflower, the peppers, even tomatoes work well in this. And so really it's a martini. So she asked me what I would use pickled tomatoes in, and just, I wouldn't do that with the farm to school, but at home, you can use little cherry tomatoes. You do have to weigh those down because they tend to float, but with a little bit of garlic and some rosemary, just really beautiful, really beautiful. Those of you who are on, who can think of a chance that they would get to use this in their classroom? You can turn on your mic so I can hear you. That would be awesome.
I'm gonna make kimchi with my class because we're reading When You Trap a Tiger, and the family
Yes.
Korean and kimchi figures in prominently. I teach 4th through 6th grade at a Montessori school.
So kimchi is fantastic. Very similar process with this, except kimchi, typically you rub the salt into the leaves and you don't have to do the math. So it's a little more forgiving. Absolutely delicious. I find that kids really like it. There are also some kimchi, you can make like a kimchi taco, and the kids really enjoy that because it's a familiar vehicle to get the kimchi in and not just eating kimchi plain. That sounds great though. I wish you were my 4th and 5th grade teacher.
Cool. Thank you so much for the taco idea.
I would like
Anyone else think?
I would like to use the okra that I have harvested. We have harvested from our garden, and we also have the purple beans. Will that be good?
Yes. Beans. So she
Will
said
that
she has
be
the
good?
purple beans. They
Okay.
would not only would be good, it's going to be beautiful. So you'll have the okra and the beans in there. I would recommend maybe adding some garlic or some dill if you can find it. Dried works great in these because it's going to give it a little more flavor than just a vegetable.
Okay.
And you can pull one out and try it, or let one kid try it, the most adventurous kid, not the kid who doesn't like the vegetable. Get the most adventurous kid to try it. And then they're going to say things like, oh, it's kind of spicy. It's kind of tangy. It's kind of, and you can let them all smell it and let them know what it smells like is very much what it's going to taste like.
Okay.
How long do you need to wait after the carbon or the bubbles go away? And then how long will it last?
Great question. So the, I actually have that on my next paper. So you're just reading my mind. You're going to wait 24 to 48 hours to see bubbles. And then when you see the bubbles start to dissipate and you smell it and you think it's going to taste good, or you taste it and you like the flavor, at that point, you're going to cap it and put it in the fridge, and it'll last, I've seen anywhere from 6 to 12 months in the refrigerator. And the refrigerator also keeps things crispy so that the beans will be crispy. The okra will have that bite to it. The cucumbers will have a bite to it still. But yeah, it'll be good for 6 to 12 months. And really your nose will know if it goes bad. So it should smell like a pickle. If it smells like rotted meat, it's not good. Okay. The only other thing I can think to tell you is that there is an issue that can sometimes happen. If it gets a solid white coating on the top, it's perfectly normal. It's called cam yeast, cam with a K. And all you do is scrape the cam yeast off. It's just a protective layer that forms. It's one of the other things that can do a high salinity, but it's completely safe. If it's any other color than white, then you would do a no-go. Okay. But that's really not going to happen, especially if you're doing this one week and then you do the taste test on Friday, or do the taste test the next week after it's been in the fridge over the weekend.
Is there a problem with chopping the vegetables before you add them, and maybe adding, like other peppers or even red pepper flakes?
No, you can add all that in. Those things are going to float. So you really want to weigh it down. Maybe if you're going to use dried herbs and red pepper flake, I would use the Ziploc bagging method because it's going to submerge it better. Whereas the floater, well, they can kind of get around the edges, but it's the cheaper option anyway. So
Okay.
these are all great questions.
So you asked how we might use this in our classroom, and I was thinking for 8th grade, that's physics, I believe, yeah. And so this would be a cool way to teach like chemical and physical changes. Be super cool,
For
hit the
sure.
standards, and a way for kids to, I guess, have a more engaging lab.
Yeah, that chemical and physical changes tends to be boring. I have to teach that in my food science lab. This is really good, and they see the CO2, and so it's a very visual lab. It can also be used in history. If you talk about the history of food preservation, this is the way that they would get the summer and fall crops to last through the winter, is they'll ferment them, and then they would put them in a root cellar. So, and this goes back to Egyptian times. And so if you want, I mean, you can find a fermented food in every single culture all across the world. You know, in Venezuela, it's called curtido. In Germany, it's called sauerkraut. You know, in America, we have pickles. All of those things are just ways of food preservation that have kept humans alive safely for thousands of years. So that would be a cool tie-in too, to do the chemical and physical changes, but also maybe check in with your social studies teacher and see what area of the world and maybe find a recipe that was close to that area. All right, Kimberly, I don't know how I'm doing on time, but I think we're pretty close to the wrap up. And I think we wanted to do a poll and to let them know of some other opportunities coming up.
One quick question. What kind of salt are you using?
This is just a plain Himalayan salt, and you want to use a natural non-iodized salt. So a kosher sea salt, a Himalayan salt. You probably have something in your kitchen already right now.
So it's not pickling salt or anything?
It is not pickling salt.
Okay, thank you.
Wow, thank you all for all these great questions. Does anybody have any one last lingering question that they'd like to ask before I start sharing my screen again? Okay, well, that was beautiful, Brooke. Thank you so much for that demonstration. I love just looking at your background too. That okra is so pretty. Okay, y'all, don't go anywhere yet. Don't go anywhere. I'm going to share my screen one more time. Oh, that's not. Okay, let's try that again. Let's try that again. Okay. So I wanted to make sure that y'all know what we have coming up. Hopefully everybody can see that pretty clearly. It's hard sometimes to know which of the Zoom boxes is blocking what. So next week on October 13th, which is also Wednesday, also at 3 p.m., we have the Secret Succotash Society, which will be presented by Chef Asita Reed and UGA Extension Agent and food historian Terry Carter. They're going to present on the history of okra, the history of succotash, all while demonstrating how to make succotash, while also demonstrating how you can include kids in that cooking process. It's going to be another really good presentation. So I encourage you all to come to that one as well. Then on October 20th, a week later, on Wednesday at 3 p.m., we will be Livin' La Vida Okra with my little geniuses, mis pequeños genios. This will be presented by Maria Claudia Ortega. She is the owner of My Little Geniuses, a family daycare in Marietta. And this will be a bilingual presentation. So we will be speaking Spanish and English during that one. And the audience for that one is mostly early care educators. And then finally, to wrap up October Farm to School Month on October 27th at 3 p.m., we will be presenting from Parkside Elementary School in Atlanta. And the presentation will be about honoring history and culture through farm to school curriculum. It will be presented by Tasha Gomes of Food Corps Georgia, as well as Jenna Mobley, who y'all might recognize from past farm to school workshops we have done. So that's what we have coming up, a good lineup. And then I wanted to remind y'all about the social media contest that's currently going on. So make sure that you're signed up for Livin Vida Okra, because you do have to be signed up to be eligible to win prizes. But every week of October, we will be choosing a winner of the social media contest. You can be taking pictures of your okra activities and posting them on Instagram or Facebook or Twitter. Use the hashtag Livin Vida Okra, and we'll be selecting a weekly winner all through October. And then at the end of October, we will have a grand prize winner. And these prizes are nice. So the weekly prize is a $25 gift card to either a seed company or a local nursery or Cook's Warehouse to get cookware. And then the grand prize winner is going to be a CSA subscription to a farm near you. So make sure you participate in that. And I think that's all we have for you today. But before you go, Shanice, could you put the link to the evaluation in the chat, please?
Absolutely.
Thank you. Okay, so Shanice is going to put a link to our evaluation in the chat. If you could take 2 minutes to complete that for us, we really do appreciate it. We know everybody's sick of taking online surveys. We need this data for grant reporting purposes, and also to like really assess the work that we're doing and make sure it's effective and what y'all want. So please complete that evaluation. Here's some contact info for y'all if you need it. And I believe that's it for today. And Shanice, if you don't mind stopping the recording, I don't know how or why I can't do that.
No problem.
Thank you.